Hello everybody. I am going to talk now about what has been my research under this project. I will present you the hydraulics of fish, the hydrodynamics of fish hydraulic structures, in the approach that we consider to address this. I will make a short introduction because we all know about the problems and river fragmentation, but I would like to focus on the fact that my research is focused in vertical slot fishways, and I have used mainly numerical approaches to address both hydraulics and ecological modeling. So my research was focused on 3 stages. The first stage, we addressed only the hydraulics of the vertical slot fishway. In the second stage, we tested an Eulerian-Lagrangian agent-based method. And in the third stage, we developed an open source tool which might aid engineers and modelers to evaluate vertical slot fishways. So the first stage, I will bore you a little bit with some partial differential equations, as every engineer does. And we have considered 2 approaches. 3-dimensional approach, the incompressible Navier-Stokes equations. We used open form, and for the turbulence modeling, we used the 3D K-epsilon model. And the second approach is the 2-dimensional simulations. We solved the Sand-Venant equations. We used Telemac, which both are open source tools. And for the turbulence modeling, we used a K-epsilon model as well. So after a systematic literature review, we chose 2 geometries, a mild slope geometry built in Slovenia and a steep slope geometry tested in France. So you can see the difference is like 1% slope and 10% slope, and you will see this is how it looks like. I don't know, do we have the laser? No, it doesn't work. So we have on the left the mild slope one, and in the right the more turbulent vertical slot fishway. This is how it looks in the 2D. So after we performed the simulations, we have undertaken validation, and as you can see here, the results of the mild slope, the green lines are the 3-dimensionals and the blue lines are the 2-dimensional simulation, and it fits quite good. It's good. Both approaches work. However, when we perform the simulations in 2D, we discovered something like the turbulent kinetic energy was extremely overestimated. You can see there in the upper right graph. Yeah, upper right graph. You can see that the blue lines actually goes like while we increase the resolution, the turbulent kinetic energy increased. So we have also some findings in flow topology. You can see up the 2D simulation and down the 3D simulation. You can see that 3D simulation captures all the experimental eddies and recirculation. And 2D simulations, well, actually it's smooth streamlines. It does not capture all the eddies in the pools, as you can see in both cases. So after this first stage, which was brief, was simple, we came to a conclusion that the best simulation to be undertaken on the hydraulics is 3D. What is the problem? It's extremely computationally demanding. So the 2D simulations is good if you don't have a good computer, if you don't have the computer capacities, or if you don't have the time, you can do it. But the turbulent kinetic energy will be overestimated and the flow patterns might be mistaken. So as the TikTok says, let's get to the good part. So now we implement fish behavior in our simulations. So I already presented the Eulerian approach, which was the Navier-Stokes equations and Sand-Venant equations. Now, the Lagrangian framework, we used one-way coupling, Eulerian-Lagrangian, and this means that hydrodynamics influences the particle. We consider the fish a particle, and we consider for the motion of the fish and for the driver to the behavior, velocity, turbulent kinetic energy, and velocity strain rate. In the individual-based model or the agent-based model, we consider 4 behaviors. This first one is when the fish does not find when the agent does not find a stimuli to move, it moves random walking. It uses random walk over the Eulerian domain. If it finds a suitable cell to follow, it will choose between among the cells under a 50% of uncertainty degree, following a normal distribution. It will choose between the 50% most suitable cells upstream. Wall avoidance, of course, when agent finds a wall in the Eulerian domain, it will try to avoid it. And what is novel from this research is that we have tried to test an escape behavior. How? Reducing the sensory sphere, increasing the uncertainty of path choosing, and using the swimming bursting speed instead of the sustained swimming speed. So after we defined the theoretical framework, we went through the experimental test, let's say. So we consider two configurations performed in a laboratory in China with big hair carps and silver carps. As you can see, you have up the first configuration, which is the baffles are staggeredly arranged, and the down you have the baffles which are uniformly arranged. I make this highlight because we have like very nice results regarding to this part. So as you can see, we have a very smoothly, the slope was really mild as well. So we have a smooth hydrodynamics of the fishway. So the good part, we evaluated the weight of turbulent kinetic energy, velocity magnitude, and velocity stream rate. Turbulence, hydrodynamics, and uniformity. So not that surprising. Turbulent kinetic energy was the key driving variable for agents behavior. Surprisingly, in the uniform configuration, we had that uniformity of the flow is more important than velocity magnitude. So it means that the fish, rather to choose comfortable velocities or comfortable zones with velocities, would choose uniform zones, despite the velocity is higher or slower. Well, of course, the velocity magnitude will be in the geometry which is not staggered, is not uniformly arranged. So we have here the results without escaping behavior. So we consider only 3 behaviors to see how the agents move, if we can reproduce the experimental data, and actually we could reproduce the experimental data with only these 3 behaviors, sorry. So what happened if we include the escaping behavior? So the swimming upstream corridor, pardon me if I'm confused, but the swimming upstream corridor in the fishway gets better reproduced with the escaping behavior. And not only the swimming upstream corridor, but also the dispersion. So as we can see here, like we have the dispersion when there is no escaping behavior included, and when the behavior is included. So we have some nice results, let's say, when we included the escaping behavior, the correlation between experimental and simulated behavior was good, increased, and also we can capture the dispersion. So we performed another analysis in the behavior occurrence, and we have you can see that when the geometry is uniform, we can find a pattern in the behavior choosing. But when the geometry is not, and of course the hydrodynamics is not uniform, the pattern is not noticeable. We cannot find a pattern, a trend between the behaviors. So we performed an analysis, and we realized that when including this escaping behavior, the agent used to escape when it finds the jet area, the escaping behavior was the most activated, the most triggered behavior. Nonetheless, this didn't have an impact in the energy cost, at least for 2 out of 3 cases. So let's go to the third stage. So this is like, let's say, our main result in our research. So now we had ELAM developed. So let's make it available for the engineers and modelers. So due to the computational constraints, instead of using 3D results, we changed, based on the results that we had before in the first stage, we changed to the two-dimensional simulations. And we developed a tool that can be coupled with Telemac in a dynamic simulation. You will see. In order to test as well different targeted fish species and different geometries, we chose Iberian barbel in this case. Thanks to the University of Valladolid, we had a bunch of data that we could use to validate and calibrate our model. The calibration geometry was this particular vertical slot fishway, in which they performed a lot of tests. And the validating geometry was this more complex, and I would say more realistic geometry, in which the University of Valladolid performed a lot of measurements on ascent times rather than spatial distribution. And we wanted to reproduce both ascent times and passage efficiency. We will see in the results how this came up. So, just a brief reminder, our upstream migration standard is the one that I already presented in the second stage. So how does it look like? So you can see, can you see the purple, the magenta point moving? So this is how our dynamic simulations work. So it depends on how many behaviors we trigger. This is the pattern that the fish will choose according to the parameters that we have stated. So this is how it looked like after we performed several tests, but this is not realistic, at least for the Iberian barbel. So we discussed and we came up with a solution. So based on the experiments that they performed in Lisbon and also along with the University of Valladolid, we developed a resting behavior. So let's make the barbel rest. And our model changed. Now our model looks like this. You can see in the upper geometry, like with the thin baffles, that there's a bug, that the fish jumps from one pool to the other. So this will happen the thinner the baffle is. It is more difficult to make them capture that, make them understand this virtual fish, that there's a wall. But when the baffle is thick enough, it understands that the fish, that it needs to stay in the pool. So how did we implement this behavior? So we used several models performed in the Iberian barbel and time to fatigue. So we considered the time going, the fish swimming velocity along with the flow velocity. And when the time to fatigue was 0, the fish needed to rest. In order to give it the time to fish to rest, we performed a statistics, let's say a probabilistic model. We performed 1,000 simulations without the resting behavior, but triggering the behavior. And we see, let's say, out of 33% of probability that the fish only rests once, or it's 50% of probability that the fish rests twice or 3 times along the fishway. So now our results look like this. It is chaotic, it is not nice, but it's realistic. So how do we know that this is realistic? We compared at least the spatial distribution that they have in the University of Valladolid with our simulation, and they agreed. So it was like, oh my God, we did it. So not only that, we wanted to reproduce the ascent times. We did it, and it was, let's say, groundbreaking for us, because this is the first time in, let's say, in the field of ecohydraulics that this has been done. reproduced the ascent times of three different hydrodynamic conditions, two different vertical slot fishways, despite the fact that they are two different, with the same model, with the same variables, with the same parameters, it was reproduced the ascent times. So let's say an added value that we wanted to try is also reproduce the passage efficiency. How? Also in the University of Valladolid, they performed models on the surviving curves of the Iberian barbel based on the velocity of the fish swimming velocity, the distance that they need, that they have to travel, and well, we will have the maximum distance and the fish body length. Sorry, but we didn't have. Sorry, okay, we didn't succeed. We still need to perform some statistics to see if, because this is the median passage of each pool, we decided to focus on the middle of the fish way, so we don't have the influence of the upstream condition or the downstream condition. And that we can say is that by adding the resting behavior in the middle of the pool, the passage proportion or the passage efficiency will increase, at least from the numerical perspective. So, the conclusions. We developed an LM model based on what it has been done, but let's say an LM 2.0. And it is validated, calibrated, it can be used, it can reproduce several targeted fish species, spatial preferences, and ascent times. So it can be used as an aid for hydrodynamic engineers, biologists, and modelers to evaluate the efficiency of vertical slot fishways. It will be presented as an add-on for Telemac soon. The main driver of path preference is, like, not surprisingly, turbulent kinetic energy. Uniformity, also not surprisingly, plays a key role in accuracy of the LM model. The ascent times were effectively reproduced. We were so happy about it. The escape response, the behavior 3, increased the accuracy of our model. This is also novel. We performed the test, and we were happy about it. And well, soon we will be uploading the model, and those who can use hydrodynamic simulation tools will be able to use it. Thank you very much. I think I am on time. I am on time, right? Okay. Thank you.